Hello and welcome to part 2 of this video series where we're covering all of the obscure games released in the Super Monkey Ball series. In part 1 we took a look at all of the physical games that you can get your hands on, but in part 2 we're taking things in the other direction by taking a look at the Super Monkey Ball Flash games. And before you ask, yeah, I did say at the end of part 1 that I was going to be taking a look at the mobile and Java games in this part, but there's been some development in that area, so instead I'm going to make that part 3. So without further ado, let's get into the Super Monkey Ball Flash games. To give a little bit of context as to what I'm talking about here, a Flash game is a game developed to run in a standard web browser, like Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, aka Microsoft Edge, Firefox or Safari. The reason these games are referred to as Flash games is because the most common program used to create them was Adobe Flash. But as many of you probably already know, in early 2021, Flash content became unsupported by all of the mainstream web browsers, effectively making all of these Flash games unplayable. Well, that would have been the case if it wasn't for groups of digital preservationists who, upon hearing that Flash support was going to be removed from browsers, decided to back up as many games, websites, animations, and basically anything in between that used Flash, and allow you to still experience them all through dedicated software, such as BlueMaxima's Flashpoint. I just want to say at the top of this video a huge thanks to anybody who's been involved with this whole Flash preservation project. So many pieces of media would be completely lost if it wasn't for these people working to back everything up. And while a lot of people probably wouldn't care if all of these Flash games were just lost to time, I personally think that they're an important part of the history of gaming, and it's good that future generations will now be able to go back and experience all of these games firsthand. Plus, without people doing this, I wouldn't have been able to have played any of these Super Monkey Ball games. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the first game on our agenda with Super Monkey Ball Mini. Super Monkey Ball Mini was released in 2001 to coincide with the release of Super Monkey Ball for the GameCube. The objective of this game was basically to give people an impression of what the console experience was going to be like, only without the advantages of having a game controller or the GameCube's impressive hardware. So rather than being a fully 3D game, this is instead a sort of pseudo 3D perspective where the camera is locked in place and we view the stage from afar. We can then tilt the stage by moving the mouse up, down, left and right. This is actually a really good idea and replicates the analog stick of the GameCube controller fairly well, allowing you to tilt the stage to different degrees depending on how much you move the mouse. The issue is that movement is really sensitive and you fall off of the stages really easily due to not really having a proper hitbox. The way it seems to work is that if the middle of the ball goes slightly off of a platform, you just drop through it. So it takes a little bit of adapting to force yourself to stop seeing the ball as a ball and more like a pixel that you're moving around. Because you're using a mouse rather than an analog stick, another issue is that returning to a neutral position is a lot harder than you'd think. It's not like you just let go of a stick and it snaps back to the center. Here you have to move the mouse back to this imaginary center area, which I often found myself misjudging and going too far in the other direction, which ended up making me wobble myself all over the place. With a little bit of getting used to though, I actually got reasonably good at controlling the game and I completed the entire thing without losing a continue. And while the game is only 10 stages long, this is actually more difficult than you'd think. You only have a total of 2 lives, meaning that if you fall off of the stage 3 times, it's game over. And there's no way of earning more lives either. There's no banana collectibles and you earn score by doing the levels as fast as you can, with each second on the timer becoming a point once you hit the goal. I did initially think that getting 100 points might result in an extra life, but no, it doesn't. Luckily though, the game isn't very frustrating because you can just go to a level select menu and pick the level you got to in your last run and instantly try again with a full set of lives. I like this because in order to get a high score, you'll still need to do loads of levels in a row, but if you don't care about that, it's not annoying to play casually because you've effectively got infinite continues. I do wish that you had to unlock the levels by finishing the previous level though, because weirdly, even if it's your first time playing the game, you can just access the level select menu and go to level 9 straight away. The only level that straight up needs to be unlocked is level 10, which you get to by finishing level 9, but I kinda wish that all of the levels worked like this, so that you had to finish them all at least once. But that's enough about that, back to the positives. There's actually quite a lot of effort put into this, with details like the backgrounds changing to reflect the different environments of the GameCube game, the narrator's voice is present, and in general the sprites and graphics replicate the actual console game really well. There are some other little nitpicky things I could mention, like how the music doesn't change with the backgrounds, and that there's no character selection either. But honestly, all of these little criticisms I have don't really matter when you consider that this was just supposed to be a free browser game to effectively act as an advert. Considering that, this is actually really good and gives you a great idea of what you'll be doing in the console game. If you end up giving this game a try, which I actually recommend if you like the look of it, why don't you see if you can beat my high score? I was actually pretty happy with this and it took me quite a while to get a score this high, so let me know if you do end up beating it. Now I'm a little bit worried though because we're going to be talking about 3 more games in this video, and considering how high of a bar this one's set, I'm not sure the others are going to be able to reach it, but let's see. So let's move on to what I guess you could consider to be the direct sequel to Super Monkey Ball Mini, with Super Monkey Ball 2 Mini. A game which was released in 2002 and was of course the tie-in Flash game to promote the second GameCube title. The main menu this time is much more complex and has way more options. Obviously with Flash not being supported in actual browsers, and also with this game being quite old, some of these menu options straight up don't work. So first we have Send to a Friend, which just opened up my web browser to its homepage, but I assume that this normally would have opened up your emails and allowed you to send a link to the game. The Enter Contest option opened up the PC World website, so I can only assume that this was a promotion that PC World was holding in collaboration with SEGA at some point. Buy Now opens up a link to the SEGA website, but the exact page no longer exists, so it just results in an error. But I assume this would have opened up to the Super Monkey Ball 2 page where you could have actually purchased the game. And then credits, as to be expected, just shows who made the game. The most interesting option here though is Monkey Ball Watchers. Monkey Ball Watchers who exactly? Me? The actual game here is different to the first Flash game, because where that one replicated the main game, Super Monkey Ball 2 Mini replicates the mini-games instead. So we have Monkey Target, Monkey Baseball and Monkey Bowling represented here. And you know what? They're all actually pretty darn faithful recreations of the ones from Super Monkey Ball 2. Monkey Target is obviously somewhat downgraded, giving you much less control over your monkey as they fly through the air, allowing you to move horizontally but not vertically, resulting in it being much easier than in the main game because you basically have no control over your momentum. Plus, the camera perspective makes it really easy to roll directly onto the middle of the target and get a ton of points. Even though it's a far easier and dumbed down version of Monkey Target though, I have to admit, there's a hell of a lot of effort on show here. The graphics look really good, even having this pre-rendered video of II rolling down the ramp and blasting off into the sky. The soundtrack is the actual Monkey Target music from the main game, and the banana and star collectibles are all present. There's even a wind meter which slightly affects your movement while gliding through the air. They really went above and beyond with this. I'm impressed. Monkey Baseball is actually really similar to the console version of the game. The only real difference here, beyond the obvious stuff like the graphics not being as good, is that you can't pitch and you only play as the batter. There's also no monkeys on the field ready to catch the balls that you bat away either. But honestly, besides this, they pretty much perfectly replicated the main game's monkey baseball here. And I know that because I suck at it in the console version, and I suck at it in the Flash version too. This does feel a little bit more simple than Monkey Target, but that's more just a case of it being a more simple minigame even in the GameCube version. But with it being more simple, it actually makes it more suited to being demade as a Flash game. So they made a good choice here. Monkey Bowling is a similar situation. This replicates the console experience extremely well. The only real difference here being the fact that it's much easier. All of the elements are here. You choose where to position yourself on the lane, do a timing game to determine where you're aiming, and then do another timing game to determine how much power you're throwing with. You even still have the option to put some spin on the ball just before throwing it. The only thing with this is that it almost felt like the ball was slightly magnetizing to the pins, and I found myself getting spares or strikes with almost every single throw I did. It's also way easier to line up your throws because the timing games move way slower than in the console version. It's also way shorter, only consisting of 5 turns before the game ends, which to be honest I actually prefer because I think the standard Monkey Bowling can drag on a bit. So overall, Super Monkey Ball 2 Mini is actually really good. It would have given people a really good idea of what some of the minigames were like, but didn't offer too many of the games to ruin the experience when you got your hands on the actual GameCube game. Plus, the minigames in the GameCube version obviously have a lot more depth too. Like with Monkey Bowling having the gimmick lanes, and of course with them all offering multiplayer. I do still prefer Mini 1, just because I preferred the way that it offered a unique take on the actual Super Monkey Ball gameplay. But this minigame replication was actually done really well, like just as well as it was done in the N-Gage or Game Boy Advance versions. I wasn't really expecting this, but so far, all of these Flash games have actually been pretty good, all things considered. You can actually have quite a bit of fun with them, and I'd say they're worth checking out if they look at all interesting to you. But now, we're moving on to the weirder side of the Flash games, starting with one that was released in 2006, called Super Monkey Disco Ball. This one was actually a tie-in game for Super Monkey Ball Adventure, which is considered one of the worst games in the entire franchise, but who knows, maybe the tie-in Flash game is actually pretty good. It's not. In fact, it's really bad and is easily the single worst Super Monkey Ball game I've ever played. We've officially reached rock bottom. The most interesting thing about this game is probably that for a long time it was thought to be completely lost. However, when tracking down a version of Super Monkey Ball Mini that had the 10th level included, which was also thought to be lost, a group of Flash preservationists actually found the long-lost game and made it publicly available to play. There's actually a really interesting video made about this that goes into way more detail all about the process of finding these lost Flash games. If you're interested, the video was created by Goober13MD and it's called the Super Monkey Ball Flash games that were lost for over a decade. I really highly recommend that you check that out because not only does he also look at all of these Flash games, but he also goes into detail about the way that he and some others actually discovered some of them. If you do want to watch it, I'll put a link to it in the description. But that's enough about all of that, we're here to talk about the game itself. So, what's so bad about it? Well, firstly, why is the screen really small with this huge border around it? None of the other Flash games are like this, and some of them are a lot older, so this really makes no sense. For the sake of making the gameplay easier to watch, I'm gonna zoom it in so that you can actually see what's happening. But other than that, the title screen is way lower quality than the other games we've looked at, being really simple and having nothing going on. The tutorial screen is really long and wordy for absolutely no reason considering how simple the game is. And speaking of the actual game, it's just straight up a miserable experience. It boils down to being a rhythm game where you need to press the arrow keys at the right time to make II chant. If you come across a combination of green arrows and hit them all, II does one of the chants from Super Monkey Ball Adventure, which gives you more points than hitting the standard arrows. And that's it. That's the whole game. There are 3 levels to go through which get harder as they go on, which is all well and good, but when you actually play the game and start encountering all of the issues, you very quickly forget about any of the positive elements that the game has. First of all, because you're looking at this tiny section of the screen that displays the arrows that you need to hit, you can't actually pay attention to anything outside of this section. So it's all well and good having this progress bar and these animations of II dancing around, but when you're actually playing, there's no way you're ever going to be able to see any of that because of how much you need to concentrate. On top of this, we have a massive problem with the actual core of the game. Sometimes when you press an arrow key, it's just straight up not detected, which forces you to miss arrows. In the first 2 levels, this isn't too bad because they're moving slow enough that you can quickly hit the next arrow and progress. But on the 3rd level, the arrows actually move too fast for it to be possible for the game to detect your inputs. It's literally impossible to hit all of the arrows in this level. I mean, this is just straight up terrible game design, but because of this, you'll most likely fail and go to try again, only to discover that when you fail, you're kicked back to level 1. So to reattempt the 3rd level, you need to go through 2 entire stages all over again. Because I obviously don't value my time at all, I was determined to do this. So I ended up replaying the entire game about 10 times. And was it worth it? No. All you get is this congratulations screen, so just don't bother. If you do want to torture yourself though, here's a bit of advice. On the 3rd level, don't even bother trying to hit every arrow. Just hit every 2nd arrow instead, because then you'll actually have the time to react to how fast they're moving, and the game will also have time to respond to your button presses too. And luckily, hitting half of the arrows will still result in you being able to finish the game. You actually need to miss quite a few in a row to fail, but this most likely will happen a few times because of how fast everything is moving, and the dodgy input detection. I mean, really, this isn't even a rhythm game, because the arrows aren't even in time to the music. They're all just a set distance away from each other, and I actually think that this was throwing me off more than I thought, because as soon as I muted the audio, I actually managed to finish the game. So that also might be a good tactic if you want to play it for yourself. The icing on the cake though is that some of the chant combinations that you do to get more score don't even line up with the chant combinations from the main game, so they couldn't even get that right. Now we approach the final game that we have left to talk about with Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz Mini. Now this one is actually really interesting because for the longest time nobody even knew that this game existed. It wasn't like with Super Monkey Disco Ball where we at least had a few still images of it. No, this one was completely forgotten. It didn't even have a page on the Super Monkey Ball wiki until it was recently rediscovered by Flash preservationists. I mean, that's all well and good and everything, but was it even worth rediscovering this game? Let's find out. Just like Super Monkey Ball 2 Mini, Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz Mini takes a few minigames from the console release and recreates them in Flash. But whereas 2 Mini had 3 minigames, Banana Blitz Mini only has 2, which is a little bit weird, but hey, maybe that means they'll be really good. The main menu has a lot of options, just like 2 Mini as well, with a how to play section for each of the 2 minigames, a high score leaderboard, a send a postcard option where you could have put in a friend's email address and sent them a Monkey Ball themed picture, an about the game section which opens up the SEGA website, but once again it just results in an error, a receive updates option which opens up a completely dead link, and the credits, which displays the credits. I mean, what was you expecting? The most interesting option here though is definitely the updates, because that implies that at one point the game either did get updated or it was planned to be updated. I wonder if it was just bug fixes or whether the intention was to add new minigames to play. Interestingly, the completion screen for the first Super Monkey Ball Mini implied a similar thing, saying to check back soon for more levels. But as far as we know, these new levels were never implemented. Anyway, the mini-games on offer here are Asteroid Crash and Fruit Basket, which are actually two of the better minigame choices from Banana Blitz, and once again, they actually translate fairly well to being played on a PC. Asteroid Crash is this shooter game where you need to use a cannon to defend your ship from these asteroids, while trying not to shoot the bananas at the same time. As the levels go on, the number and speed of the asteroids increases, and the objective is to see how far you can get to rack up the highest score. In the console version of this game, you used the Wiimote as a pointer, so it was much more about motion. But here, because you just use a mouse and click to shoot, you'd think it would be a lot easier. But interestingly, they actually made the asteroids move far faster than in the console version, so it's actually balanced with this new control scheme in mind. The graphics here are also pretty great, and they reflect the new, more cartoony style of Banana Blitz very well. Overall, this is pretty solid, even if it is maybe a little bit simple. Fruit Basket is actually probably better here than in the console version, because you don't need to rely on the somewhat wonky motion controls in order to position the fruit where you want. Basically, the aim of this one is to watch for the falling fruit and then press an arrow to send the fruit into a specific basket. As the levels go on, the fruit falls faster, and the game ends once you've missed 10 of them. Once again, it's extremely simple, but hey, it works. Plus, just like with Monkey Bowling and Baseball from 2 Mini, it's not really the fault of the Flash game that it's a bit simple. Because what you've got to bear in mind is that it's based on the console version of the minigame, so there probably wasn't a lot of freedom to mess with things or to make up an entirely new minigame instead. But the question now is, where do all of these games go in my series ranking? Out of all of the obscure Super Monkey Ball games, first place is still Super Monkey Ball for the N-Gage. Second is the Super Monkey Ball minigame in SEGA Superstars. Third is Super Monkey Ball Banana Heist, the minigame in Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. But then, in fourth place, we have a new entry with Super Monkey Ball Mini. I personally think this is the best Flash game because it's the only one that does something completely original. Having a unique control scheme and unique levels, while still feeling like it keeps the core of Super Monkey Ball intact. Then in fifth place we have Super Monkey Ball 2 Mini, which has 3 minigames that are extremely well replicated from the console version. Then Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz Mini, which is slightly worse than 2 Mini because it only has the 2 minigames, and they're arguably not as good either. Then in 7th place we have Super Monkey Ball Banana Catch, which is the McDonald's toy, which leaves us with last place, which is of course Super Monkey Disco Ball. Which, to be honest, should be ashamed of itself for being worse than something that was free with a burger. Not only is it a really simple game, but it's also extremely flawed, which is unacceptable given how simple it is. But you know what? Something I admire about every single one of these Flash games is that they all do a really good job of taking an element from their console counterparts and making it work in your browser. Super Monkey Ball Mini takes the core essence of the game. 2 Mini and Banana Blitz Mini replicate the party games, which were of course a huge part of the console game's appeal. And even Super Monkey Disco Ball took the chanting mechanic from Adventure and turned it into something unique. Admittedly, it didn't work very well, but still. I had a lot of fun messing about with all of these Flash games, and I hope you enjoyed watching me talk about them too. Let me know in the comments if you had even heard of any of these, and if you want to try any of them out for yourselves, I'll put a link in the description to BlueMaxima's Flashpoint, which is the software I used to play them. Next time, it's going to be part 3 of this video series, where we're going to be taking a look at all of the weird Super Monkey Ball games released for Java and mobile devices. So, if you're looking forward to that, give this video a like and subscribe to be notified when it goes live. And, until next time, bye!